When you make that type of money, and I feel like there's a lot of people who are willing to, make a name off of you. You have to move. You can't just walk around with no security or any type, or you can't walk around with any type of protection. Let me say that.
Yo, what's going on? This is the Highly Advised Podcast. I am here with my friends this good day on this weekend. How are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? How are you guys staying warm? It is still cold outside.
I mean, where I'm at, I'm not dealing with snow, but I'm doing good. I can't call it same old, new day, new journey. You know what I'm saying? Another day to conquer. So I can't call it. Happy to be around my fans, the listeners, and everything like that. So how about yourself? How about yourself, fellas?
Man, I'm good. I can't complain. It's your motherfucking boy, Big Cozy, Too Cozy, a.k.a. the motherfucking main event, a.k.a. Mr. Ooh, a.k.a. 3-time Royal Rumble winner. I'm throwing niggas over the top, bro. Yeah, that nigga. You know what I mean? I'm doing good. What's up, Notch?
Not so much. I was chilling out here. I got my leg up for the moment being. You know what I mean? Just chilling here with y'all for the weekend, trying to get comfortable and whatnot.
You got the tongue with the boot out?
Nah,
One leg up with the tongue from the boot out.
Nah, I just got my leg up with 2 pillows underneath it and some ice underneath my leg.
Yo, tell the listeners what happened, bro. Like,
Benny.
Yeah, man. Like, he's like Benny the Butcher, except he didn't get shot. Like,
exactly. He
went out. He had some stuff that he was about to do, and he ran across this guy he'd been having problems with. And they got in a little scuffle. He slipped, while he was throwing punches, and then he ended up, he got dropped. I was like, damn, this is exactly like Gilbert Burns.
The lie is always better than the truth, man.
Yeah, I guess. he makes like a second of truth in the story too. Like the rest of it was just like pure lie.
It's like, is any of this story true, Nigel? Yes. All right, that's all we needed to hear.
Right, exactly. Listeners, I did slip and fall. Ice, apparently, is a thing. And I ran into it the other night. And for the MMA listeners and even listeners who aren't into it, look up a guy named Mirko Cro Cop getting knocked out. My leg did something like his did. And I am not in the best of shape. Let's just put it like that.
Hey, man, I'm sorry to hear that. All seriousness, I hope you do get better. Hopefully the doctor can tell you what kind of surgery they need to perform on your shattered foot.
Well, you know what, listeners, is crazy because like everybody's been saying, yo, man, I can't wait till you have surgery. Oh, man, you're going to be out of commission for so long. Good luck, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, hey, like, nobody's got an x-ray yet. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I just need some physical therapy. Nah, man, they're going to be cutting your leg wide open. You're going to be in pain for like half the year. Your summer's gone. Like, worry about that. Essentially, that's what people are saying. That's what I'm getting. So,
you serious? God,
yeah, it's been a lot of just wait till you're out of commission talk, but essentially.
You might want to go talk to like someone from Dr. Sebi camp or something. Maybe they can give you some like natural herbs to heal your bones, like you Wolverine or something.
Yeah,
you're right. I need some sea moss?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Try the sea moss. Let's see how.
But what is it? I'm asking. see, that's the thing. You just don't let me be ignorant. Like I'm asking a question. I actually don't know what it is.
What sea moss?
What? Yeah. What is it? Like, is it actually called sea moss?
Yeah. Well, people use sea moss for general things, but yeah, sea moss is like 92 minerals of like your body needs 102, and sea moss has 92 minerals. I personally don't use it because my body doesn't like it. So. But I have used it before, and it feels good. It's just like my body overall is just not for me. But it's like a big thing now, definitely since like COVID. COVID jumped all of that stuff up. That you can't even buy. It was a grip until you could buy elderberry or anything like that after this whole pandemic and stuff. So, but use a sea moss, man.
You know who else has a grip on things? Usman, after he won the fight last night that he actually was in when he fought Gilbert Burns, and pretty much put the beats on him for about 2 to 3 rounds. And I was watching that. Wow, I know you watched it. Spence, I know you actually watched it. You know what I mean? So what do y'all think about that?
Man, all I have to say is Nigeria, stand up. Take the flags and wave it. But shouts out to Kamaru Usman. Shouts out to Gilbert Burns too, man, because he actually made Usman do a push-up. And then Usman almost kissed the mat, man. I'm telling you. And he regrouped really well that second round. He started utilizing that jab really fucking well.
Yes.
Just pop. And it wasn't even like he was quicker with the striking, like he had like he was the faster striker between him and Burns. It was just like he was more disciplined and the timing was down right, and then he was just he was popping them. I could tell Burns was getting frustrated, like, what the fuck? And in that third round, he dropped him with a fucking jab. That goes to show that Usman, he got some power behind that fucking jab.
Man, so, it looked crazy. You know who you look like? He looked like GSP. With the jab. And GSP's jab was nice.
GSP had a good jab, but he wasn't dropping.
He wasn't dropping people.
He wasn't dropping people with that. He traded with Freddie Roach.
He might have dropped somebody with a jab over time.
Usman traded with Trevor Whitman. And don't get me wrong, Trevor Whitman, he's a great MMA coach, but when you trade with Freddie Roach, that jab needs to be impeccable. And I was gonna say GSP, even though he utilized the jab a lot, he still got bloodied up by Nick Diaz, Carlos Condit, Johnny Hendricks. So like his jab wasn't perfect. Usman's jab, that looked like probably the best jab a welterweight has thrown ever. And he utilized it so well, so you could tell like they were drilling that jab when he was training.
Well, my thing is that like I do think his jab is good, but I mean, let's not forget, like, in order to like land that jab, he did get caught, you know what I mean? Like pretty badly by Gilbert Burns in the first round. So it's not like he's like some stand-up guru or something like that. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, of course, because I know you know that. But like I think it goes to show that his stand-up has improved since the last time he fought before Gilbert Burns, obviously. But if he's fighting Jorge Masvidal next, my advice would be jab when you can, take him down quick.
I think he's gonna do what he says he's gonna do. I think he could put Masvidal in a coffin.
Oh yeah.
I think he could finish Masvidal, bro. Like what I seen last night, I just felt like his game is all around a lot better than Masvidal, man. Yeah. Like Masvidal, he needs to get into a striking battle for him to have that chance to win. But if we're talking about all around skill set, he's not stronger than Usman. He ain't gonna beat him in the clinch. He obviously is not gonna beat him in the wrestling. The only thing that he's gonna beat Usman in is just a pure boxing match, which Usman is smart enough not to, just rely his skills on that, and shit talking. He's not. I think Usman, he's gonna put Street Jesus or Street Judas, depending if you're a fan or not, on a fucking cross. And I have my faith in Jesus Christ, so shouts out to him. But like that, but I really think if Masvidal is truly next, which I think is not fair, but if he is truly next, I think Usman is going to finish him, man. I don't think Masvidal could compete with a guy like that. I mean, Masvidal already lost to Usman.
Yeah. So. Exactly. And I mean, I think when you fight someone the second time, it's a lot harder to, like, if I beat you, like, I think it was a unanimous decision anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely in a rematch, they're basing it off of, like, their experience with you in the ring. And it's like, when we look at the fight between Usman and Gilbert Burns, it's like, yeah, he's a different fighter than what we saw a year ago. So it's like, if I'm progressively getting better, and it's like John Jones, the tricks that I got, I haven't even brought out. Like, I'm quite sure Usman hasn't pulled out all the bags of his tricks that he has. And, like, granted, he did get dropped in the first round against Burns. It was like, it's the thing of being a champion, bro, of like, finding a way of like, okay, it's easier said than done to try to get somebody out, to knock someone out so simply, even if they're kind of woozy and they know what to do. Right. So, like, someone like Kamaru Usman, like, okay, boom, he's gonna get his shit, he's gonna get his stuff back together and kind of go back at it. And of course, like true to the prescription, he came through like, and I called it for the 4th round. I said it was gonna be a 4th round ending, and he got it done before then. So it's like someone like that, is just it. The level is just higher because it's like everybody was predicting that he was just gonna get it by decision.
Yeah,
like he kept it with the jab, kept him outside, and even like Burns was just, I think Burns, because everybody has a game plan until they get hit, and I think once you definitely, if you knock the champion down, like at that point you're like, oh, I can do this again, and he was able to tag Usman every so often still, but it was like, okay, cool, you got me. All right, let's kind of go back to this. Let's go back to the corner. Let's figure this out. All right, I messed up here. Boom, let's fix this, and now let's see if you have something to do. And of course, true to his prescription, he ended the fight, let people understand why I am who I am, and like he even surpassed GSP with this one, correct?
But yeah, with the winning streak, and and now what's been part of the conversation from last night till I'm pretty sure till next week is how close is he to surpassing GSP if he has not already. In my opinion, I still think GSP is a little above him. It is not because of skill set or nothing like that. It's just because of his GSP's track record. You know what I mean? Right. The GSP's been about what, 12, 11 title fights, 9 title defensives, So yes, Usman did snap the winning streak, but I still think Usman probably got a few more fights before he could overlap GSP. I don't think he needs to have 9 title fights because some people, they're going to ignore this, but GSP got a title fight early on in his career, while it took Usman probably like 7 fights before he got a title shot. You know what I mean? So I think that Usman doesn't need to have 9 title defensive. It'd be nice, but I don't think that's needed. I think, probably for me, I think about 2 or 3 more wins. I think he passes GSP with probably the MMA community as a whole. They probably want to see him win about 3 or maybe 4 more times, but I don't think he needs to have 8 more title defense. Like, nah, that's ridiculous.
I think because of his style, he wasn't going to get a title shot early anyway. I mean, he's like more of like a grinding fighter. You know what I mean? Like the UFC, like they don't seem to be in a rush to put those types of fighters in title shots. You know what I mean? And it's like, but he's so dominant though. Like I've never seen him like really in that much trouble. Even in the fight that just happened yesterday, like he got his wits about him relatively quickly, and then like way more dominant in the next 2 rounds and finished the fight. So like for me personally, I'm with you 2 or 3 more. He's going to be right with GSP, and I think the discussion should already be had. Like he's above Tyron Woodley and Matt Hughes, like for sure. You know
easily.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not even like a question.
And he doesn't even complain about trying to fight somebody.
Well, the thing about Tyron Woodley is that like he wasn't this dominant. You know what I mean? Like he had a couple close fights, like with Wonder Boy and whatnot. So it's not like he was like going and knocking it out of the park. Like Kamaru Usman has not looked in much more trouble than he has yesterday.
And respect to the ultimate, villain of the division, Kobe and Usman had a competitive fight as well. Right. I mean, I think Usman was doing a little better and eventually, knocked him out, broke his jaw. But, Kobe was giving him some fits too. So like, bias aside, I'll give it credit where credit is due. And then of course, Burns, when he made Usman literally do a push-up, you know what I mean? Like his face almost, he almost got Valentine's Day early, you know what I mean? Like I was like, when he cracked Usman, I was like, damn, like this motherfucker, he ain't come into play.
I just want to also point out that he was Kamaru Usman is number 4 on our pound for pound list, and that there's a reason why, because we recognize his talent. Obviously, the only people who are above him are John Jones, Khabib, and Amanda.
Yep. Yeah.
Think about that.
I mean, and heck, you might pull Khabib down some if he ends up fighting GSP or somebody like that. So, I mean, but we all know, like that was a whole conversation we had last week anyway about that. But like, I mean, I'm not sure if you saw. I think Dana now he wants to target Porier and McGregor trilogy for the summertime. I think
pretty much we kind of like called that. Like It's the big money fight. You already know there's a lot more money into that now. The guy that knocked out Conor getting an immediate rematch against him. And Poirier probably saw his paycheck. It was kind of like, yo, I could do this again.
I can get more again.
Yeah, I could get more again. Like, if he got paid $1 million, I'm pretty sure for the trilogy, he was going to get paid $2+ million, because that's exactly what happened with Nate. He got like 500,000, and then in the rematch with Conor, he got over $2 million. Jeez. So I'm pretty sure Poirier is looking at that. As far as title fights go, I look at it kind of like Dana already said it won't be for the title, so I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it if it happens. If that's what Poirier really wants, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, it's his decision.
When it comes to money, right? I think at the end of the day, it's a red panty night if he fights Conor, right? For a trilogy. Now it's like you avenged your loss, and now you guys are going to see who really is the one between the two of you guys. And like, definitely when it comes off of a knocking Conor out, having him laid out, stretched out, sleeping, trying to figure out like, yo, where am I? Am I in Vegas, or like, am I in Abu Dhabi? Like, what's going on here? Like, so I think it makes sense from a financial standpoint. I think the only thing that I have a concern with is just if he was to lose this fight, right? I feel like it would just put him back into a space before he fought Conor, because right now I think Poirier is in a space right now after the win where he's in contention to, if not fight for the title next, be fighting for something that's title in the circumference of a title, right? So fighting someone like Conor is like I think financially it does something for his bank account, but I just don't think it helps him in terms of like, if you lose, you literally kiss trying to fight for the belt. Like, it puts Conor back in the same space of like, okay, I just beat the guy that y'all think should be fighting for the belt pretty soon. So it puts Conor back into the same contention. And like, if Conor loses, it doesn't hurt. It hurts Conor, but it doesn't hurt Conor essentially. Because if he loses, right, people are just gonna be like, well, he lost to the guy that he just got knocked out by. Maybe you can come up with some excuse, and then you can go put Conor fighting. You can just do the Nate trilogy and let him ride off into the sunset.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, Spence. Like, credibility wise, it's not ideal, and it's not favorable, especially for like a fan that actually follows the sport. Right. But like, as far as like a money fight goes and just kind of like a fun fight, I'm not mad at it. And we kind of like predicted it. Like, when Porier was talking about like, oh, I don't want to fight Oliveira or this guy, that guy, I'm already the uncrowned champ. That sounded like he wanted a paycheck again.
That sounds like a loser, man.
No, I mean, to me, it sounds like, I'm not mad at him for getting his money, but I do think it doesn't really speak for credibility of the belt. But I guess if they are going to fight, then just have Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira fight for the belt. You know what I mean? Like, I think, why not? Because if you have them fight, and even if it's not the fight people want to see, you just have the winner of Conor Poirier fight them. You know what I mean? You could essentially make the small little tournament, or just make it just so that you already have a contender fight ready to go.
It's a mess.
It is messy.
But hold on. No, it's messy, but that's what they're doing. They're already saying that they're going in that direction. So it's like, do we just keep on not paying attention to the belt? I mean, if they wanted to make it easy, then they could have Conor and Dustin fight for the belt and make it simple.
And you know what's crazy out of all of that? Habib can come back and be like, yo, so I'm still the champion. Y'all are interim champions. Like, this
and he said that recently. Dana White said that recently. He was like, I'm still going to try for Habib. Like, or Habib, sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's still trying for him. Like, they're going to make lightweight a mess if they don't fix this.
It's already a fucking mess. You have the number one guy in the division, not named Habib, passing up on a title fight against another top guy in Oliveira so he could get another 7-figure payday against a guy he just knocked out.
And like calls himself the uncrowned champion.
All-crowned champion. When, the actual champion, who's, I don't know why Dana refuses to strip him yet, is already put him to sleep, choked him out, you know what I mean? Like, it's a mess. Lightweight has been a mess, unfortunately, due to one man, and that one man is Conor McGregor.
It's a wild card.
Ever since 2016, when he took Eddie Alvarez to school, the whole division was taken to school too, because it's been fucked up ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
Nah, that's a fact.
I got a theory. About something that's going on right now, I guess, before we move on.
Right.
What if, right, they were saying, and even though it's a valid claim, but what if Dana White and, other people, I don't want to just put it strictly on him, were saying that Kamaru Usman was the welterweight GOAT because they're trying to get GSP, they're trying to goat him out of retirement if I can be.
Yeah, they could do that, but I think for somebody of GSP's character, it's going to take more than words for him to come out of retirement. Of course, it's going to take a big paycheck, but I think for GSP is a calculated guy, kind of like Kamaru Usman, right? He will come back and fight Habib if he truly believes I see something that I know I could exploit in the fight. Right. He knows he doesn't need to come back to fulfill his legacy. His legacy is fulfilled. He is the standard for, welterweight top 5 fighter of all time, any division. He is the bar. So it's kind of like he has nothing to prove. You know what I mean? At that point, it would be for a money thing, or he's like, hey, look, I see something. I'm going to come back, take care of this, and then retire again. I don't think it's in GSP's character to get baited into talks. I think he probably doesn't even have a problem with Usman being compared to him. He probably was like, yeah, that's fine to me.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would take someone like Usman actually calling him out. And even then, I think GSP is, like you said, is calculated. And I think he understands that at the end of the day, he's too old to really fight. I think someone like Khabib, he's probably even though I said he could win that fight, now thinking about it, I don't know what I was talking about. Yeah, I'm taking that back. I'm reneging on that. Nah, because at the end of the day, you're an old man. Granted, because this whole Tom Brady thing where he won the Super Bowl, 7 championships, 43 years old, that's a whole different sport, right? And I just think someone like GSP, I think he's someone that understands the writing on the wall, and it's of course this is just the evolution of time. I wouldn't be, and honestly, I don't think I would really want to pay to see that, because I'll be honest with you, I think Kamaru Usman would just beat the brakes off of him, just because of just age, speed, just being able to technically sound, and it's
they don't want to hear that.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't want to hear that.
I might get killed for this, but it's the truth.
Do you think Prime GSP beats Kamaru Usman?
No.
Why?
I think Usman he's the better skilled athlete. I think he proved it, bro. He proved it. The thing about GSP, where a lot of people regarded him, was hey, his grappling was so good, his MMA wrestling was so good, despite him having a karate background, but his wrestling was over his striking. Usman, his wrestling is great as well, but now it's coming to the point oh shit, he's finishing people with his striking to the point he's not even utilizing wrestling. He didn't use wrestling last night at all. With GSP was a danger, he would shoot for a double leg. So this way he'd give himself a breather, and then he'll bring himself back in the fight. Kamaru, like I said, he did a push-up. After he did his push-up, he's like, okay, I'm going to regroup. What do I need to do, coach? He came back there, and he put that man down with jabs. Not no hooks. Straight jabs. That's showing that his striking is improving, Right. I think that, and also age will play a factor, you know what I mean? But if you're just talking about prime, I think Usman gets him, man. I really think he does. I think Usman has the ability to go up and fight at middleweight, Will he do it? I don't know, because, him and Adesanya have that, I won't fight.
Nigerian brother.
Yeah, I won't fight him.
Oh, he's Nigerian?
Yeah, they're both Nigerian.
Yeah, they're both Nigerian, yeah. Even though Adesanya claims Nigeria and New Zealand, but
yeah,
they're both.
That was the thing. That's what I was thinking about, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going with Usman. I agree with Spence. I'm going with Usman. And not a knock at GSP, but he's the number one from yesteryear. Usman, he just looks like he has a better all-around game.
I agree with that. I think that GSP, while GSP is like we said multiple times, top 5, dead or alive, he's in that group, people. It's just the way it is. But no, he is one of those dudes. But even still, Kamaru Usman, he's shown at this point in time a little bit better game all around. I put it like this: like GSP was beating up people, and I think Kamaru Usman is doing the same. But I didn't plan on him. I didn't expect him to stand up with Gilbert Burns and to put him down that way. That was a
Right.
shocker. Like let's think about that because like I think Gilbert Burns knew in the fight when they were there that the best way to beat Kamaru was to finish him, and he couldn't do it on the ground because he wasn't going to the ground with him at all. He was like, "Fuck that! You probably can't sub me if you like actually try." And he was trying to knock him out, which he was like trying to attempt to do. So I don't know, man. I think that I just think that overall he would beat him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think GSP wouldn't be able to beat him, but it's gonna be interesting. It would be interesting to see like in terms of like a nice like match. Like that would be some honestly that'd be like something that I could see them putting like Dana would try to go all out and probably he might even try to take something out the playbook of like Bellator of going like to Showtime or something and be like, yo, let's make this like a blockbuster fight pretty much. Like because I think Bellator is doing something where they're doing like what light heavyweight Grand Prix right on Showtime. I think it starts in April.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
how
they're
y'all
doing
feel
it.
about that?
I,
Actually,
so I want to see Anthony Johnson versus Yoel Romero. I'm
yes.
gonna I'm gonna see that. But the other fights I really don't really care for. Like when I see like Bader versus Machida, Corey Anderson versus some guy that who knows, and then their light heavyweight champion gets Phil Davis. I'm just kind of like, all right, I'll just catch the highlights. But well, Anthony Johnson versus Yoel Romero, I do want to tune into that. Problem is, I don't know if I want to get Showtime to tune into that
Yeah.
because it's not like, hey, I'm gonna pay a measly $5 for ESPN Plus and watch their event through ESPN Plus. It's like, hey, Showtime, you got to pay like a premium $30 a month, subscription to subscribe to them. Like I'm paying for an add-on on cable. I'm not doing it because I'm not watching Showtime all the time. I'm
I
just
mean,
not.
I feel you. Like, I mean, and we'll probably talk more about it later. But I mean, to me, the way I look at it is, if it's, I'm not gonna pay for it personally. Just because I know, like, I would like to see that fight, but it's not like a fight that I'm going to be like I'm stopping my day for. But for someone, I can understand if you were to pay to watch the fight, you would just look at it from the standpoint of like pay per view, right? Of like,
Okay.
hey, I bought this. You pay for a subscription for a month, and then you do it like that. Like even like with HBO, like I personally I never had the HBO Max app personally, just because I said like I've told y'all before, I don't really watch TV or anything. But like and we'll talk about it more later with the Black Panther, not Black Panther, Black Messiah. I only way to watch it was to go through that avenue. So I paid to have the app at the end of the day. I paid for the app knowing I don't watch TV. And if anything, if I choose not to use this anymore, I'll just cancel my subscription. Cause then it's just like it's pretty much like paying the pay-per-view or
Yeah, yeah.
the pay-per-view. So like that's always another option to look at if you decide to do it. So you don't think like, as long as they're not trying to hit you with like a 12-month contract, like, oh, you get this for $30 and you got to be here for 12 months. Like,
I think that's how it is for the zone. You can't just
okay.
do. Yeah, I think it's like a contract situation, which is why I don't fucking fuck with the zone. The app, I don't fuck with that.
I got you.
What Bellator is doing right now reminds me a lot of what Strikeforce was doing back in the day. And my thing about it is that like while I don't necessarily think them being on Showtime is the worst of things, I think that to put that type of content, because I think a lot of people would agree that they're the second best MMA organization behind a paywall, like a hefty paywall, that isn't going to want to make people tune into it, and that's what I feel is the problem.
If even they're number two, I feel like there's other organizations that's, you could argue that they could be a number two as well, right? Because
Exactly.
we don't often really talk about Bellator, and we're not the measuring stick of what's number two in the MMA world, but
Right.
as fans that understand and watch the sport, like we really don't talk about Bellator often because they don't have a lot of marquee fights to really be talking about. So I just look at it, it's like yes, I agree with Spence's point of view, which is actually a positive outlook. Like, hey, you could just treat it like it's pay-per-view and all that. But if it is something where it's like, hey, this is like a cable add-on, or it's a contract situation, I just don't think it's worth it, because it's not like Bellator's every week like the UFC. No, this is like, hey, this month we're doing this. God knows when we're doing something else later in the year, And I think people really get Showtime now for boxing and MMA. They're getting it because they like certain shows like Dexter and whatever the fuck else they have on there.
Shameless and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I can understand that. Like, I mean, to me, I would say, like, when it comes to Bellator, I think they are kind of in the two spot in comparison to like the UFC, which is like a global brand, is a stronger global brand currently, right? And I mean, you never know, things can change. But I think with Bellator, to me personally, like, though putting it behind the paywall, because typically they host all their shows, all their fights on TV. I think, of course, I think for them to do this, they've done the calculations to make something like this happen, and understand, like, hey, everybody's not going to watch this. But they also probably recognize, hey, if this fight works out perfectly, if this whole thing works out perfectly, the people that are like diehard fans of them will probably say, like, hey, I need to find a way of like watching this or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see. I do think, personally, I think them doing something with like Showtime is a good thing, is a step in the right direction for them as a company, because it now you have somebody, external source, being able to fund a lot of things that they want to do. Because I'm quite sure it's to do certain fights and probably try to get certain fighters from other organizations, it's going to cost them money, and it's probably money that they would love to spend. But if it's like, hey, we're tight on cash, or we kind of keep a certain balance of like, hey, we need to keep a cap here, now you have extra money coming in. So plus, on top of it being on Showtime, I'm quite sure Showtime's going to promote the heck out of this whole event, which is going to probably open the door for new viewers that are already on that app. So, but I think we'll understand more when this whole event is over with, and seeing how it pans out for them in the months to come. So,
yeah, I agree with that. And Showtime isn't the worst spot in the world, because they did have Strikeforce back in the day, and Strikeforce highlighted some of the people that we're familiar with. And one of the I wouldn't say that this person is a star now, especially the controversy, but she used to be a champion in Strikeforce, which was a big MMA promotion at the time, was Gina Carano, and so if Showtime could have people like Gina, when when Strikeforce was under the banner, I'm pretty sure Bellator, Showtime could find another guy or girl, as well. And with Gina Carano, how do you guys feel about the things that she's been saying? And because right now she's not looking too hot, she's not looking too great, and she's under some hot water right now. And social media is a bit divided on her stance. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, before we get into it, let the listeners know exactly what she did, so they can have a context of what we're talking about real quick.
You're right, and that's my bad. But like with Gina, so Gina came out and she made some comments about Jewish people, kind of comparing how Republicans get treated in America versus how Jewish people were getting treated during Nazi Germany. And she was saying like how basically it wasn't just Nazi people killing Jewish people, it was Jewish people also hurting their own. And she was like, Republicans who are America, they're being hurt by their own people, which is Democrats or non-Republicans and stuff. So she made that comparison, right? And it upsetted a massive amount of people, where they're kind of like, how can you compare your political view and your stance to, 6+ million people died due to their religion and their background, their race, by somebody who, despised them, not because they were evil people or nothing, but to despise them because they weren't the blonde hair and blue eyes that he was trying to push back in the World War II era. And so she got a lot of backlash for it. And Disney, well, Lucasfilm to be more specific, came out and were like, hey, look, this is it. You know, you're done. You know, and apparently it also wasn't the first time that she came out with comments. You know, before she made some transphobic comments, and she she also came out and did voter fraud election when the whole election was going on. So this isn't her first time doing controversial things, but this one was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for her to lose her job.
Well, here's my thing about it, right? Like, I'm not a big fan of canceling people, quote unquote, or anything like that. I think there's always something that we could do in order to, like, maybe possibly, try and correct the behavior. You know what I mean? Depending on what people are actually getting upset about. I also feel like cancel culture can be a little quick to do things. In this situation, however, it's a little different because like she's done this like multiple times. You know what I mean? So it's like she kind of puts the company in a bad spot at that point in time because it's like it's first time. It's like, all right, you said something that's wrong. We might be able to like help you out. The set like 2 or 3 times, it's like, yo, why do you like we can't defend you anymore? You're making us look bad, so we have to get rid of you. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I agree. I agree there where when you're having when you're working for a company at any level, right? I don't care if it's you're the guy that sweeps floors or if you're the guy that makes the biggest decisions at the company or you're somewhere in between. The going practice is always definitely in the world of the internet that no matter where you go, you represent whoever you work for. And as soon as someone can identify the way you act outside of work and identify that you're attached to this company, no matter if you're a contractor, if you're a standard employee, you are willing to face the repercussions that come with that. And I think in her situation, I don't feel bad for her because definitely when it's a situation of someone saying, hey, we're giving you multiple chances. I do agree with you with what Nigel was saying in terms of like cancel culture, right? I think far too often cancel culture is very quick to kick someone out the door and then forget about everything that they did at some point sometimes, right? But in this situation, I agree. In the world that we live in the climate that we live in, even if I don't agree with her beliefs, for one, let's make that clear. But at the same time, in the world that we live in today, you should be cognizant of everything that you say and what you put out there. When you put stuff out on the internet, you could think, oh, I'm putting this out there and maybe 100 people are going to watch it. Or, oh, I have 100 people I know that want to watch this, not realizing it doesn't take anything. It takes nothing for something to go viral. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you don't get to choose what is a viral moment. The people get to choose. And to say something as harsh as that, definitely when it's like you're comparing your political party belief system to an event that killed, like you said, over 6 million people because of their religion. Like these are two different things. And far often than not, like they always say, you shouldn't mix politics with religion, for one. And you should just, if you have political views, you shouldn't vocalize your political views more often than not because you just don't know where someone else can come from. And definitely when she comes from this standpoint, it's like, you can't say that and then think like Disney, of all places, are going to be like, oh yeah, you're cool, it's all fine. But like, it's like you said, like more than likely they try to give her some chances and then she probably felt protected. And there's probably I'm not going to say it's someone within those companies, but like, it's probably someone that she hangs around that's probably outside, external from the businesses that she works with, that probably share those same belief systems. And far often than not, definitely with social media today, you can get yourself like insulated into a space that only has your belief systems because the way the algorithms work to push things that are like-minded content to you. So it's not even upsetting. Like you should just watch. People should watch their mouth before they say something more often than not. It's the truth.
At the end of the day, like that's really what it is. Like, hey, like you work for this company, Don't go off the handle and say some wild shit, and you won't get fucking fired. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Not multiple times either, yo. You know?
Man, the way I see it, my opinion, and you guys gave great thoughts on it. I definitely don't agree with her stance. I don't think because so like people in her defense were trying to say like, oh, people are missing the point. Basically, people are ready to cancel her, because of her political views. Like, I get what she's saying, but what she used as a comparison and analogy is wrong. It's very wrong. She could have used something completely different, made her own shit up. Instead, she tried to compare people disagreeing with her political views to people who were losing their lives outside of something of their control as a dark period in history.
Exactly.
Like it's not comparable. Nobody's out there killing Republicans because they're Republicans. They're not doing it. Unfortunately, she's compared herself to people who literally lost their lives. There's people that are still being affected by it because of their grandparents, of what they were going through. You know what I mean? So like, it's just, I look at it kind of like she was totally wrong in that aspect. Me personally, I'm not mad at Disney letting her go, or Lucasfilm, whatever. I'm not upset at it. I always agree with the same stance of Stephen A., another person that some people think is controversial in sports, is that you can't go into your job, damn ESPN and Disney. Imagine going to where you work.
Right.
You start saying things about your employer, or you start saying negative things and expect to have a job. It doesn't fucking work like that. If we owned our own businesses, if somebody was saying like, fuck black people, I don't give a damn about slavery, they should be happy with slavery, shit like that, are we going to keep them? Are we going to keep them employed? No, we're not. That we don't care how hard they work. You can't do that. You can't not do that. And we understand with our respective employers, we can't go in there and talk shit about certain things and expect for us to continue to be paid. That makes completely no sense. And that's the thing. I don't understand why people like to defend people like Gina Carano. Like, what she did is wrong, and it's common sense for her to lose her job. You can't do that, because those same people that's defending her are the same people, they're not going to their employer and publicly doing the same shit because they know. So they know they're going to lose their job. That's why they won't publicly do it. So that's why I feel like whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you have to understand as a common, with common sense, you can't make those fucking comments and expect everything is going to be all right, especially if you've done it more than fucking once.
It's similar to like some of the stuff we were talking about before. Like, you have to be cognizant of like the way the world changes, especially, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you go into any history museum, you can see clips from history that show you a totally different world where her comments would probably be accepted at some point in time in history, just not today, just not 20 years ago, not 40 years ago. You almost got to go back 100 years practically. It's 2020. The Holocaust was in the late 30s, early 40s, almost 100 years ago. She's trying to compare this to, and it's like, no. So I mean, at the end of the day, like, she deserves what she gets, and they honestly, like, she deserves what she gets. And on top of it, I'm not sure if you guys know, but Disney I think Disney Plus said they got 21 million new subscribers.
Off of that?
Well, not off of that, but like at the end of like the last quarter, they got 21 million new subscribers. So you got that. You're not messing up that bag. At the end of the day, you're not gonna like, if you're progressing in that way, because even if it's Lucasfilms and it's attached to Disney, it's Disney at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter the subsidiary or the outlet. It's like it connects to the overall branch. So
right.
Disney's not playing that game. If they want you gone, you will be.
Yeah, like, I mean, and it makes sense though. It makes sense. And even like, and we're gonna move on, but like, it's it just makes sense. Like even you have people that are business owners. There was a business owner in Wilmington, I believe, that like I think he had like a sub shop or something. And when the whole George Floyd thing was going on last year, he spoke out against it, and like he had like some very unflattering things to say, right? That were very derogatory towards people of color, right? And the that situation at least. And social media found out who he was because it was like a video that surfaced of something I did that weekend. And literally, my mother was like, "Oh, that was like one of the best food places to go." Nobody wants to go there to eat anymore because they don't want to attach themselves to something like that. Because the way you act outside the company reflects on the brand at the end of the day. So like, and it's interesting to see how stuff like that works because like in that situation, it's a conflict, right? And I think someone like Mark Cuban as well, where his belief system, I'm not necessarily sure what was his belief system behind this action, but I know he, with the Dallas Mavericks, I think in the last, their games, he got rid of the national anthem. And I believe like the NBA overturned it. But it's like, in that situation, it's a totally different thing. And he's not using some type of example of like what she used to justify his reasoning. So like, how do you guys, did you guys hear about that at all?
Yeah. So like with that, because First Take, Undisputed, all the sports outlets
Yeah.
and shit, they were talking about it. So at first, when the report came out, they were kind of like, "Look, I'm not watching Dallas Maverick games like that." So when the report first came out, it made it seem like it was going to start happening like soon or already started happening. Apparently, this motherfucker been doing this since the preseason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been doing this in the preseason, and then just now is catching headlines. And I think the controversy with it is kind of like, why is the NBA now enforcing it versus enforcing it back then? Because they have a mandate saying like, hey, the national anthem is mandatory. This is not like no choice. So the thing is like, why did Mark Cuban was allowed to get away with it for so long up until now? And that's why it was overturned. But the thing was like, hey, this guy been doing it for a minute. So Mark Cuban, when he decided to do that, I wasn't mad at it because he wasn't saying like, he wasn't like going against, oh, I'm anti-American. It was nothing like that at all. He was trying to do it from a space like, what can we do to help unify people? You know what I mean? Because the national anthem, there's some people from there who feels offended by it, due to the events of last year. And then, yes, and in the national anthem, in the same sense, there's some people who are very patriotic by hearing it. But there's people that have come out saying, military members as well, they're saying like, hey, if the national anthem defines you as an American, as a patriot, maybe you're not really a patriot or an American because it shouldn't be defined by a song. It should be defined about your actions and your faith in the country. You know what I mean? And
This is what the, sorry to cut you off. This is what the people from the military, like people that are serving, were saying, correct?
Right. There were several people. So it wasn't just military members, but there was military members amongst
Within
the people.
group.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Gotcha.
And the thing about it is kind of like, if the national anthem, if you look back in history, it wasn't made for Black people, right? There was questionable lyrics and stuff like that in there. And I'm not saying it to be a controversial nothing. Like you could look it up. It's public.
I've read the lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm as a veteran, as myself, and I'm proud to serve. I had to go overseas to do my job and all that stuff. So I have no problem. That's what I signed up for. I need to stand up, put my head over my heart. That's what I signed up for, and I understand that. But I understand people who weren't in the same position as I am, where they kind of feel like some type of way about it. And I think for Mark Cuban, and I'm looking at it from an objective standpoint, that he was doing what he was doing to kind of like help unify people at his games. Now the NBA waiting so long to overturn it, I don't know about that. I'm not into the world of NBA politics on what happened and all that, but that's pretty much the situation with the Mark Cuban turning down removing the national anthem long as he did.
Me personally, like, me and you, while we serve together and whatever, and it's But what I see is like I don't necessarily have a problem with it not being played because like even at not there's been events that I've been to that haven't had the national anthem played before, all started. And me personally, I also have the belief that a lot of people who consider themselves patriotic aren't as patriotic as they actually, would claim to be. That's what I'll say. I think that if he did it in the vein of like trying to bring people together in a patriotic way, I think that's great. You know what I mean? I understand why people might have a problem with it. I get that. But at the same point in time, like it's not necessarily the worst effort he could have did if he was trying to do it for that reason.
I didn't serve, so my perspective is just from a civilian one. Friends, of course, that have served and family members as well. Personally, I don't have a problem with it, just because of it's at the end of the day, I can't tell Mark Cuban what to do and what not to do, right? And it's the thing of like it's just the way society works, where it's only a problem when someone makes it a problem, and someone says, "Oh yeah, I don't like that. How did we not catch? How did someone not catch this?" Right? I think at the end of the day, Mark has his right. He had his right to do it, and if I see it, my whole belief system is similar to with the cap thing, right? Where I say it like this: if people that have served, protected this country, have risked their lives for this country, and granted, I'm not going to take two or three people to represent a whole nation of people that serve, but when even like in the cap situation, like when he had decided to take a knee, he decided to take a knee based off what someone in a veteran had told him that they found to be the most appropriate way, right? Now that's a whole conversation, whether you agree, disagree, that's to each his own, right? But in this situation, I see it like I see it like this. I always look towards the professionals, right? And in this case, the veterans, the people that serve, are the professionals. You guys have risked your lives for this country at the end of the day. And I see like if you guys have no problem with it, I have no problem with it. I mean, at the end of the day, like we were saying with Gina Carano, you play within a structure, you're within a system at the end of the day. So if the NBA, if at the end of the day, the NBA is the boss.
Yeah. Yeah. And my final take on it is I don't like how there's some people like trashing the NBA for allowing Mark Cuban to do this for as long as he did. And they're kind of like, oh, that's why the ratings are so low, which was a narrative that was created by somebody else. And I always like to look at, we're MMA fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dana White doesn't have the national anthem playing at his fights. And they're one of the biggest sporting organizations in the world and one of the fastest growing sports in the world. And Dana White is a publicly known Republican to support Trump. And nobody came out and slammed Dana White for not playing the national anthem, you know? So like, and I just look at it as kind of like, and nobody's going to come out and say Dana White is anti-American because he's not. Like, I don't think Mark Cuban is anti-American, right? I think I think people are so stuck up on the fact that, oh, it's the national anthem, it's American, and if you don't play it, you're anti-American. Like, no, man. Like, this is one of those situations where you should like sit down, try to understand, read the room, but try to understand what's going on, why he's doing this, why not. And I feel like people like to jump the gun so much, right? I'm not saying Mark Cuban is right or wrong, but I understand what he's trying to do. Whether it works out in the long run or not, it's for us to see. But I think that for somebody who has supported veterans and who has done things for Americans, like kind of give people opportunities, whether you like watch Shark Tank or not, whatever like that. I think this guy, you could say he's an American man, probably a proud one. So I don't think you should chastise him and be like, oh, he's communist China and all this other shit that you see online.
That's what people are saying about him?
Well, yeah, they say that they also attack people like LeBron James, Le Communist James, and all that. Despite the fact that LeBron James has done a lot more for the community, black or white, versus these keyboard warriors. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's definitely touchy, but I'm looking at it from an objective standpoint. I'm not telling people you should agree with us or not, but what I will say is definitely don't be closed-minded about it, because in this situation in our country, things are not perfect, but as Spence said, we're pushing towards more unity now because people are realizing shit has been fucked up for a long time.
Yeah, it's not like a person is like a Judas or anything like that, for real, for real. Like, when it's all said and done, like I guess to me, it in the way that people take some of these situations and they reflect in terms of like outrage. I'll put it like this, like, and let me say this first, let people know this is we're about to get into a conversation that could be a spoiler on Judas and the Black Messiah. Just to give you guys a warning, so you might want to skip this if you haven't watched the movie yet. We'll put it in the timestamps. But going, you said what?
Like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, like by now they should have moved on, but but now like. Yeah, like, I mean, I see it like this. It's not like they were like Keith Stanfield's character in like the Judas and Black Messiah. You get what I'm saying? So
right.
What y'all think of the movie?
Dog, that movie was crazy. I love it. I love that movie, yo.
It's a good movie. I could see a lot of Oscar nominations for that movie, especially with the climate today and people recognizing certain stuff. I could see that movie getting a lot of Oscar nominations. It's a good movie, and it's definitely a movie that I recommend anybody tuning into and watching. It's an important movie.
History,
yeah. So yeah, the movie is sad. It's not meant to be happy. It's just there to display the real what's been happening for a long time and what has happened in the past. So it's not meant there to be, sunshine and rainbows at the end of the day. No, it's just there to show like, hey, this is what these people, what they went through. And this is the realism of what they had to deal with at a certain point in time in our country. I think that Daniel Kaluuya, I think, forgive me if I mispronounce his last name, I think he did a good job with the leading role. He did a great job portraying who he was trying to portray, which was Fred Hampton. And then the movie, in my opinion, I think it did an amazing job, kind of, me personally, engaging me into the 60s of what the fuck was going on and how a Black man was being affected during that era, especially like in Chicago. And some of the stuff I was like, at first, I don't try to be emotionally invested in these type of movies because I know these movies could be emotionally charged at times because of the content of what they're displaying to the audience. But with me, at the end of the movie, the last scene of the movie got me because I was just thinking like, damn, it's like it's one thing after another.
Oh, when they killed him.
Yeah. And the motherfucker, he was doing the right things, tried to do the right things for his people, for his community. He even unified people outside of his community to join along with him. But to people who were racist and prejudiced to him and what he stood for, they wanted him dead and gone. They wanted him dead. Him being locked up was not enough. They felt like to stop what he's been doing, we need to kill him. And, little do they know it didn't help. But that's the realism of what was going on back in the day. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I just think like it was a good movie. People should go on it with an open mind. Don't be closed-minded. I can imagine a lot of people try to be closed-minded with the situation. It's a good movie. From an entertainment standpoint, I was entertained. I enjoyed it. If we ever do a top 10 movies of the year, this is in the top 10 for me.
All right. So here's my thoughts about the movie, right? Like, I think the movie was actually a really good watch. I liked how they put the characters in the movie, how they are written. Like they wrote Lakeith Stanfield essentially. His name's Bill yes. William.
Yeah, William O'Neill.
William O'Neill. Yeah, like they essentially made him out just to be like, hey, look, I'm doing this because you're not locking me up and because you're paying me some cash on the side. And the further you got into it, they just kept on stringing him along. I didn't feel bad for his character at all because it's like it's one of those things where it's like he really essentially like literally gave the blueprint on how to like stop the whole organization. It's fucked up like just the way it was because I think he saw some things that scared him like while like going through the whole process, but at the same point in time like he saw that he was actually trying to unify a lot of people at the same point in time, and it's just like me personally, I was watching and I was just like, wow, like Fred Hampton, like he was a good speaker. He had a lot of bright ideas. You know what I mean? He actually was trying to unify a lot of people, and like I I I think people who had ideas like him were seen as threats by a lot of people. But I think that if they actually just tried to work with him, they might be able to, make something better than what they're trying to stop by trying to kill him. You know what I mean? Because like if everybody could come together, I don't think that I don't think what he was trying to do essentially was take care of the community. That's not a bad goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's not a bad goal. I think it's, but you also got to remind yourself, right? At this time, they consider the Black Panther Party a terrorist organization within the country. So, and you got to think about all the feats that they went through when it was Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, Bunchy Carter, all of these guys. They did whatever it took to stop this unification because it wasn't necessarily because this all takes place after the Civil Rights Movement.
Yeah, they weren't trying to work with Black people.
Yeah, like, well, I'm saying no. This, yeah,
no, I'm just saying like they weren't,
Yeah, like this is after the Civil Rights Movement because the Civil Rights Movement is 1964. So like this is taking place in 1968, 1969 because he dies in 69, December 4th, 1969, the same day Jay-Z's born actually. When it came to what they were trying to do, like you can tell, like the biggest fear, I think the fear was just the fact that he wasn't trying to make a group of like, hey, we're marching and we just want like equality. He's like, no, I'm not. He his belief system, for what it sounded like, was that, yo, I'm fighting fire with fire. And where he said, he was like, if they want capitalism, we're going to be pushing socialism. So it's like in the same aspect of not necessarily fire with fire, but saying like, hey, you're fighting with fire, I'm going to use water. At the end of the day, of like, I know how to extinguish this, and his identifying of like, hey, we're not going to make this a black thing. We're not going to make this a white thing. We're going to make it the poor and unsovereign versus the establishment itself. It was a hard movie to watch. Definitely that last scene when he gets killed. That was probably like the hardest scene for me to watch, I think.
That was the hardest scene for me too, man, because like one, he got killed, he was already dead, and then they kind of came in there and already made it definite, and then but like the guy went to sleep with hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And fucking died because of Will O'Neal, what he did, per the movie.
Yeah.
And then next, the racist people came in and broke in and shot them all up, and then made sure that Fred wasn't waking back up.
Yeah.
And that part sucked to me a lot because I was like, wow, man, like this dude, he tried to be a positive dude, and he knew that he had to do like irrational things and all that, but he didn't go around killing people or attacking people neither. You know what I mean? And he went out and made the Rainbow Coalition, and that was when he did that kind of like, I was like, I hope this shows the narrative of what he was trying to do. Like, yes, I am for my people, but other people who are struggling as well, we're in this together, and for him to go out the way he did sucked. And I was just like, wow, bro, like that, the way he went out was crazy. I have no sympathy for Will O'Neal's character. So he sold his own people out. So this way, he's the real definition of Judas, right? He sold his people out for a little return, for a little bit of return.
Yeah, it's even like going to that part, right? There's a scene in the movie towards the end when Fred Hampton gets he was going back to jail, right? At this point, it was already written that he was going back to jail because, for one, the charges was BS anyway because he stole $71 worth of ice cream. So like, it's already said like, okay, he's going back to jail, and then the I forget who it was necessarily. It might have been the leader of the Peace Stones, but he was given money to go on the run, and they were like, y'all can go to like Cuba or Argentina or something like that, or Brazil, and he was like, I'm gonna have to do 5 years. He was like, I can do it. He was like, I'll do the 5 years. You take the money, build this medical center for the people. And at that point, it showed this one. It was a parallel of the character of both of these guys, right? These men, because one, he wasn't willing to do 5 years, so he was willing to sell his people out, while someone else was willing to say, "Hey, I'll sit down for 5 years, knowing me sitting down for 5 years instead of going on the run will better my people at the end of the day."
Great point, Spence. Fantastic point. That's exactly what. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think the movie does a decent job of like really illustrating that, like with the comparisons between like the story of like Jesus and Judas and like this story, like because I mean Fred Hampton was around like trying to like preach this message to people, and essentially Bill O'Neill was like one of his disciples, his driver in the movie.
Yes.
And then like ended up selling him out just to really save his own ass, like that's essentially like the story like of the movie. But it's just like I thought it was interesting. They even showed like I think one of the stories of Jesus before he's crucified, like that's made to be like like one of the more important parts of the story is like when Jesus is being held captive and the devil's like speaking to him in captivity. They even showed like a scene with Fred Hampton. They came and showed him that that newspaper clip when it was like, hey, your shit just got burnt down, you know what I mean? Like all the stuff's happening. Like they have a few things in there that are like interesting. I thought the title of the movie fit perfectly for what they were trying to do.
Hey man, for the listeners, this is probably like the most political / like religious episode we've done. Probably the most political since George Floyd. You know what I mean?
Probably so.
And we do our best to be more entertainment, more fun, more something for somebody to tune into every week to be like, hey, this is fun to listen to. I'm gonna tell about my friends, which you should be telling about your friends, listeners. But for the sake of this movie, I'm glad that we're all taking our time to really dissect it, because this movie is very impactful, and not every movie needs to be about Marvel superheroes or Tony Montana drug lord stuff. There's a good balance, and this movie fits in that balance of like, hey, we will talk about some serious movies because it's part of that. It's part of us. So how showing like how diverse we are with.
Yeah,
we're not just entertainment sports.
Yeah, like I think people understand that. Like I mean, this is a movie that we all just happen to watch unanimously, and we just chose to sit down and like really all we're doing is just talking about what happened at the end of the day, because like this movie, because even despite everything that we're talking about, like these are all real life events. Like this is stuff that like even when I watched Eyes on the Prize too, like everything that's depicted in that movie happened in real life, from them burning the building down to I think it was like one of the chairmen of the Panthers had called down, and he was like, and this was actually in the Eyes to the Prize, like he was just like, yo, we called down and we told them, well, they burned the Panther house down, just start rebuilding or start trying to clean it back up. And shortly after they started doing it, the community came out. So like it kind of gives you an idea of what they were doing, and I would say it's a highly recommended movie to watch.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I already know a lot of people are going to like it, and you're going to get a lot of people who won't.
Oh yeah. That's of course. But one thing I do know people will like, though, if someone did watch the movie, even if you didn't watch the movie, and hi to people that just came back from the sport after hearing the spoiler, the soundtrack to that was crazy. And like even they had Pooh Shiesty on there, who like Pooh Shiesty, Lil Durk, G Herbo, Bump J, I think they had her on there.
They had the GOAT.
Jay.
They had Nipsey, RP Nipsey on there. You know what I mean? They had another GOAT on there. They had ASAP Rocky, which is, he's another staple in the rap world.
Polo G.
They had him on there. So they had a balance of old school acts that were synonymous with us in the future. You know what I mean? So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, like that. I'm not even gonna hold you, bro. Like that. It's early in the year, but that's probably gonna be one of my favorite albums for this year. Like it's gonna take a lot, like for an album like that, because granted it's a soundtrack, so you have a variance of like all the best artists, but it's to me it was like a masterpiece listening to it. Like even like artists like Polo G, right? To me, I think Polo G had one of the best verses on that album, like up there. And some people might kill me for this, but it's like up there with like the Jay-Z verses and so on and so forth. Like Jay-Z verses, Nas verses. Polo G had one of those verses also on there. G Herbo had some great verses. He had a song with Bump J that was like very reflecting of like what was going on. And I think the thing that made it so cinematic to me with those artists were the fact that they were Chicago rappers at the end of the day. And having someone that's like a Chicago rapper end up having a Chicago rapper rap on stuff like this about what was going on back then, whether young or old, basing and reflecting on their experiences today, was just super dope. So, and shout outs to Pooh Shiesty too.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say something about Pooh Shiesty. Seeing as he sold over 60K this week, I actually did take out some time to listen to the Shiesty season. I guess in general.
Do you guys think those are good numbers for a guy who's apparently that is his debut project? Like he's never done a mixtape or nothing prior to this project.
That's great. I mean, if he's never had anything else out before, I mean, there's other artists that aren't doing that. I mean, we were talking about Lil Durk, and like, no offense to Lil Durk, but he sold not too much more than that with his last album. You know what I mean? Like, so let's just put that in perspective.
But at the same time, I can say this. I think Lil Durk did help sell this album.
Yeah, with the Back in Blood song.
Yeah, like I think that definitely helped sell this album because it was one of the biggest. It was, if not the biggest, it was like one of the biggest songs on Billboard. Not if it wasn't one, it was like in the top 3, I believe, at some point. So, I think I think those are good numbers, definitely for artists just coming out. And even if he had projects prior to, because he has music out he's been putting music out for years. Like, and you could check his YouTube page of like stuff he put out 3 years ago. But I think with him being on 1017 and hitting 60,000 first week is a phenomenal thing. And hopefully we're able to see like something more to come from him. I mean, hell, he even in his song on the Black Messiah soundtrack, like he did the whole verse and didn't curse at all.
We'll see. Definitely, Pooh Shiesty putting out his project is kind of cool. I listened to it. I thought it was cool. So, we'll see who comes from him in the future. So also to switch it up, they're doing this other thing for the future. They're building what looks to be little villages in LA from tiny homes and whatnot. I think that's kind of interesting. I think that could be a good thing if they're, trying to actually, put the homeless into the spaces where they can actually be off the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super dope. Definitely where there were people having issues before, the way they were carrying the homeless people in terms of like with COVID-19, because what they were doing, from my understanding, like some hotels, not all, I'm not sure if it was all or some, but I know in certain cities, hotels were getting like a stipend of $500 a night for so a homeless person could stay in a hotel and get $500 and it for a $500 up to $500 a night in a hotel. And I know there were some complaints like in the past couple of weeks actually about this, where if it's like, if you're paying $500 a night for this person that's homeless to stay somewhere, you can build a home for all of that. You can build them a home. You can put them in a space where they actually, you can put them in a space where it's like, okay, we can generate an income for you or create some type of income for you to help get you on your feet. Now, granted, if you mess up, if you're unable to get yourself on your feet with that assistance, that becomes a whole nother conversation based off like circumstances or whatever those impacts may be. But overall, like I think this is like a great solution. Definitely when it goes to show like, hey, people, the powers that be have the money to fund them staying in a hotel up to $500 a night and just creating a home for them, which can actually last them a lot longer than just this. So
yeah, I think it's actually the concept, the initiative, and the idea is amazing, and I think it's a great thing. I don't know how they're gonna regulate it and maintain it to where it's long lasting, but I think this is a step in the right direction. You know, homelessness is a underrated problem in this country. I feel like it's not. I put it like this: the percentage of homeless people should be cut down. You know, I don't think it should be high as it is. And I just think that this is one of the very few things that could be done to help provide, you know, people without a home and shelter, you know, to at least point them in the right direction. Now, granted, there'll probably be some mindsets were kind of like, oh, those homeless people need to get off their ass, da, da, da. And that's a whole nother spill for another day. But I think that some people, sometimes they just need help. You know, they need help before they could start moving forward where they need to go.
Definitely agree.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a good thing for people if they can, you know, actually just try and clean it up a little bit. You know, I think that if you help people who are, you know, at the bottom, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think it's fair enough to say that if you're like homeless, like you're on hard times, you know what I mean? I think that if you help people who are on the bottom like that, and I think it only flows up, you know what I mean? Like, because it's like a lot of things, like, you know, where people can't help themselves, like, you know, it's a very, like, complicated issue, I think. But I think at the same point in time, like, you know, if you try to help out that, you know, community, there's only good things that can come from it.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Hopefully, hopefully we'll see how that whole thing plays out. So I'm very curious. I know, I think NBCU bought WWE streaming rights recently for Peacock, which is like something else interesting in the news. I think they bought it for about $1 billion, I believe.
Yeah,
Like,
I think if you have like Xfinity, you might have the WWE network for free.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cause like I was gonna actually with Lau, cause I know Lau's like a huge wrestling fan. I was wondering how his take on this was actually.
I mean, I think from like a business standpoint, I think it's interesting because maybe what if NBC is trying to buy out the company and this is just like a direction in that move? If you're spending $1 billion, you know, that's a lot of money for some pro wrestling content. You know what I mean? So like it's interesting. Maybe it's a long-term play. As a fan, I don't care because I'm not going to get Peacock. So, and I'm not going to go out there and buy Peacock to watch wrestling. Like, I'm just not, you know, maybe for events like WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, you know, big events, I'll do what you were saying earlier in the episode. Like, hey, I'll treat it like pay-per-view, you know, spend a little $5.99 for the month. But on a consistent basis, man, I'm just not doing it. Yeah, I'm just not.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, for me, I mean, in my case, like I have Peacock, so it comes with my package. So I'm not. Yeah. For me, I'll probably. You don't even really want to watch it in the first place.
Give it out publicly so the listeners can.
It can be the highly advised community where we all watch it off of your account.
Yeah, off the back of Spence and Indeed not, man.
It sounds like a good deal to me. I
mean, I bet so, man. I bet so. Until I get a knock at the door saying, "Yeah, we're going to cut your whole service."
You're like, "Well, I got Peacock. Like, me too. Like,
it's like if you got got it. I
Wow.
got it. Okay. Say right. I hear you.
Pretty much, yeah. All right. Before we go, y'all wanna I was about to say, y'all wanna get in this thing about GCJ?
Yeah, I was gonna just shout him out. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to
Tom
him.
Brady.
Yeah, you think he the Tom Brady of the game? He's not, but there's nothing wrong with it. Like my belief is it's Jay-Z. But shout outs to him. Everybody's supposed to believe in themselves at the end of the day with no funny stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Lyle.
Look, GCJ is an absolute legend. I wish people would come together to do like a rap hall of fame because he belongs in that motherfucker, especially on the production side. Because a lot of people are not realizing he's produced a lot of fucking songs throughout the years. He is not the Tom Brady of rap music. He's just not. And I don't know if he said it to be joking or he was serious, but as far as a legend, hall of fame in the game, 100%. So I got love for Juicy J. Shouts out to him. Hope all is well with him.
Yeah, I think GCJ should think highly of himself. If I was GCJ, I would think highly of myself too. And shouts out to him. I don't really have anything bad to say. I'm not gonna disagree with him. If that's the way he feels, that's the way he feels. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I think he's a legend. Do we have anything else to say to the listeners before we get out of here for the week?
Not much. I mean, only thing I'm gonna say, we're not going to speak on it, but I just suggest that certain rappers don't entertain certain other rappers that try to troll. So, i.e., Meek Mill. So like, because I'm seeing right now the internet's killing them for the whole 6ix9ine thing. But other than that, like, I would just tell the listeners: drink your water, meditate, exercise. And that's it. Like, that's all I got to say. So,
man, my last thing for this episode is thank you, listeners, for tuning in to this episode. This episode was, went a few different ways, which is good. It shows our diversity and our strength. Definitely watch Judas and the Black Messiah if you can. Good movie, probably be a top 10 movie of the year. I will also tell all the, Rudy Poo candy ass bum listeners that, we make your life entertaining. So tune into us and give us a 5-star rating. And I wasn't trying to rhyme, but that's me, and that's how I do it every time.
He practiced this. He practiced this, man.
Wow.
No, you know what I mean? The old school, I'm the man's regret, but I'm the lady's pet, the 2-time, 3-time Royal Rumble World Heavyweight Champion.
I know your showers be long, bro. He be saying this in the shower. I can tell.
It's just off top the dome, man. Natural, like Ric Flair, the nature boy.
I don't have much to say. Watch out for ice, please. Don't step on ice. Don't be like me. Hopefully, you know what I mean.
That should be a
new
segment.
Don't be
Don't
like
step on ice. Icebreaker. You know what I mean?
No, I was gonna say don't be like Nigel.
That will never be a segment on the podcast.
that was the.
I don't know if the listeners will even hear this.
Yo, that was the move that Nigel got hit with, the icebreaker. that's why his foot is like all shattered and he got a vegetable foot. Yeah.
Yo, man, y'all are too funny, yo. Anything else?
Nah, we don't have anything else to say. You've been highly advised, listeners. Thank you for being here with us. Join us next time. Actually, before we get out of here, go ahead, Lau. I know you about to do it. Go ahead.
Hey, man, make sure you follow us at Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram, Advise Highly on Twitter. You subscribe to the YouTube, and also, on Apple Music or podcasts, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. Man, they need to change their name. Make sure Apple Podcasts, they need to change it. Sometimes I'd be saying Apple Music when I be podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, but Apple Podcasts, Spotify, et cetera, make sure you rate our stuff, leave a review, and help spread the awareness. Make sure you tell a friend, tell your friends all about it, in the words of the weekend, and make sure make sure you follow us individually as well. Big Cozy, Too Cozy on Instagram. You know, my brothers, they could leave their handles too, or whatever you want to call it these days.
Yeah, follow me, Spence. Follow me at st.kitch Saint Kitch on Instagram, and yeah, that's the only platform I have. So yeah, follow me there.
Relax and Noji_Jackson. You guys have been highly advised. We will see you next time. Be safe, be kind, and we're out.
Boom. You've been highly advised.